May 27th, 1942, 3:14 in the morning. Thomas Dyer's hand stops moving. The code group he just transcribed, 83427. He has copied this exact number 47 times in the past 10 days. 47 times. His superiors upstairs in Station Hypo believe 83427 is a target location, a place the Japanese will attack with their entire carrier fleet in 8 days, maybe less. The problem is, nobody knows what 83,427 means. Nobody knows where it is. And if the cryptanalysts upstairs guess wrong, if they send the American fleet to defend the wrong location, Japan wins the war. Dyer sits in the basement of the 14th Naval District Administration Building at Pearl Harbor, radio intercept operator. His job is simple: listen to Japanese naval frequencies, copy every transmission, pass the encrypted messages upstairs. The code groups mean nothing to him. 88674, 12390, 55821. Just numbers. But 83,427 keeps appearing, over and over. Whatever it means, it is important enough that the Japanese mention it constantly, important enough to decide everything. The transmission continues, more 5-digit groups flowing through his headphones. Then another one he recognizes, 65,992. The cryptanalysts think this might be a date, June 4th, maybe June 5th, 8 days from now. Then comes the group that appears in almost every intercept. 2 letters the Japanese use as a location designator, AF. The Americans do not know what AF means. Midway Island, the Aleutian Islands, Fiji, Samoa. It could be anywhere in the Pacific. Station Hypo thinks AF is Midway. Washington thinks AF is Alaska. Somebody is wrong, and 15,000 American sailors will die because of it. Dyer finishes the intercept, 73 code groups. He timestamps it 0314 hours and sends it upstairs to the cryptanalysts. To the men who are trying to break Japanese naval code JN25 before time runs out. 2 floors up, Commander Joseph Rochefort stands over a desk covered in intercepted messages. He is 41 years old. He has not slept in 29 hours. He wears a smoking jacket over his uniform because the basement is freezing at night, despite being suffocatingly hot during the day. His coffee mug is empty. His ashtray overflows with cigarette butts. On the wall behind him is a map of the Pacific with pins marking suspected Japanese fleet positions. There are too many pins, too many ships, too many carriers. Station Hypo, Combat Intelligence Unit, Pacific Fleet. 14 cryptanalysts and linguists working in a concrete basement trying to read Japanese minds, trying to break a code that changes every day, trying to predict where the next attack will come. They have been working on JN25 for months. They can read maybe 15% of it. 15%. Enough to know something catastrophic is being planned, not enough to know what or where or exactly when. Rochefort picks up the latest intercept from Dyer. He scans the code groups. There it is again, 83427. And AF. He has seen these in 200 intercepts over the past 2 weeks. Every message from Japanese Fleet Headquarters mentions AF. Every operational order references 83427. The pattern is unmistakable. The Japanese are planning a massive operation, multiple carrier divisions, invasion forces, support fleets, all converging on AF, on 83,427, on a target the Americans cannot identify. The door opens. Lieutenant Commander Jasper Holmes walks in holding another stack of intercepts. Holmes is 46 years old, an engineer, a submarine officer, now a cryptanalyst, because the Navy needed men who could see patterns, men who could solve impossible puzzles. 16 more from overnight, Holmes says, dropping the papers on Rochefort's desk. All of them mention AF. All of them have that same date group, 65992. June 4th, Rochefort says. If we are right about the date code, Holmes says, we might not be. We have 8 days, Rochefort says. Maybe 9. We need to break enough of these messages to tell Nimitz what is coming. Admiral Chester Nimitz. Commander of the Pacific Fleet, the man who will have to decide where to position America's 3 remaining aircraft carriers. Enterprise, Hornet. Yorktown, if she can be repaired in time after getting bombed to hell at Coral Sea 3 weeks ago. 3 carriers. The Japanese have 10. If Nimitz guesses wrong, if he positions the fleet at Midway and the Japanese attack Alaska, or if he defends Alaska and the Japanese hit Midway, the war is over. Japan controls the Pacific. Hawaii falls. The west coast is defenseless. Rochefort walks to the map. He stares at Midway Island, a tiny atoll 1,300 miles northwest of Hawaii. 2 small islands, sand and coral. An airfield? Maybe 3,000 Marines. Strategically vital because it is the westernmost American position in the Pacific. If Japan takes Midway, they can threaten Hawaii directly. If they destroy the American carriers while taking Midway, they win. It has to be Midway, Rochefort says. AF is Midway. The pattern fits. The frequency of communications. The call signs involved. Everything points to Midway. Washington says AF is the Aleutians. Holmes reminds him. Washington. The Office of Naval Intelligence. OP-20G. The Navy's cryptanalysis unit on the East Coast. They have been analysing the same intercepts as Station Hypo. They reached a different conclusion. According to OP-20G, the Japanese are attacking Alaska, not Midway. OP-20G has more resources, more personnel, more political connections. When OP-20G disagrees with Station Hypo, Washington listens to OP-20G. Washington is wrong, Rochefort says. Can you prove it? Holmes asks. That is the problem. Rochefort knows AF is Midway. He knows it the way a man knows the sun will rise. But knowing and proving are different things. And right now, with 8 days until the attack, he cannot prove anything. He has fragments, code groups, patterns, educated guesses, not proof. At 4 a.m., Lieutenant Commander Thomas Finnegan walks over with another intercept. Finnegan speaks fluent Japanese. He lived in Tokyo for 3 years before the war. He can read the language, understand the culture, see nuances that others miss. Commander, look at this, Finnegan says, handing Rochefort the paper. The intercept contains 41 code groups. Most are still encrypted, but there are several Station Hypo has already broken. 29,857. Carrier Division, 14,673. Second, 88,432. Will sortie, and then AF again. Carrier Division 2 will sortie to AF, Finnegan says. Not from AF to AF, which means AF is the target. Rochefort reads the decrypt again. His heart is pounding, but his hands are steady. This is different. This is movement orders. This is confirmation that carriers are deploying toward AF, not departing from it, attacking it. We need absolute proof, Rochefort says quietly, something Washington cannot argue with. Holmes has been standing silently, staring at the intercept. Then he speaks. What if we trick them into telling us? Rochefort looks at him. What? The Japanese intercept our communications too, Holmes says. Not the encrypted stuff, but low-level administrative traffic. What if we send a message in the clear from Midway, something the Japanese will notice and report? Then we see if they mention it in connection with AF. Rochefort understands immediately. You want to bait them. We have Midway send an uncoded message saying their water distillation plant broke down, Holmes says. The Japanese intercept it. If they are planning to attack Midway, they will report this intelligence to their fleet. They will say AF has water problems. We intercept that message. We decrypt enough to see AF and water together. We have our proof. The room goes silent. Everyone is thinking through the implications. If it works, they get confirmation that AF equals Midway. Hard evidence that even Washington cannot dispute. If it fails, they waste 24 hours they do not have. If the Japanese realize it is a trick, they might change their entire code system. Station Hypo would go blind right before the most important battle of the war. It is risky, Rochefort says. Everything is risky, Holmes says. We are guessing. Washington is guessing. In 8 days, the Japanese attack somewhere. I would rather know where than keep guessing. Rochefort walks to the bathroom. He needs 30 seconds alone, 30 seconds to think. He locks the door, looks at himself in the mirror. His eyes are bloodshot, his face is grey, his hands are shaking, not from fear, from exhaustion, from too much coffee and too little sleep and too much responsibility. In 8 days, maybe less, the Japanese combined fleet sails toward a target he cannot identify. If he guesses wrong, Admiral Nimitz positions 3 carriers in the wrong ocean. They get ambushed, destroyed. 15,000 men die. Hawaii falls. The West Coast is defenseless. And it will be his fault. Joseph Rochefort, the man who lost the Pacific because he could not break a code. He splashes water on his face. Then he goes back. Do it, Rochefort tells Holmes. Send the message. Holmes coordinates with Midway through secure underwater cable. At 8 a.m. Hawaii time, Midway Atoll transmits an uncoded radio message. Administrative traffic. Routine. Their water distillation system has suffered a mechanical breakdown. They are running low on fresh water. Request supply shipment. The message goes out on standard frequencies. Nothing suspicious. Nothing that should attract attention. Except the Japanese are listening. And if they are planning to invade Midway in 8 days, this intelligence about a water shortage matters. They will report it. And when they do, they will use JN-25. Station Hypo waits. Every radio operator downstairs monitors Japanese frequencies. Every cryptanalyst upstairs prepares to analyze whatever comes in. Rochefort sits at his desk, smoking, drinking cold coffee, watching the clock. This is the gamble. This is the moment when months of work either proves correct or collapses into disaster. 6 hours pass. Nothing. 12 hours. Still nothing. Holmes starts pacing. What if the Japanese do not monitor American administrative traffic? What if they noticed the message but realized it was bait? Worse. What if they noticed and they are right now changing their code system? What if Station Hypo just blinded itself? 18 hours. 20 hours. Rochefort has not moved from his desk except to use the bathroom. He smokes cigarette after cigarette. His staff watches him, waiting for orders, waiting for him to say something. He says nothing, just waits. 24 hours. May 28th. No intercept. Nothing about AF. Nothing about water. The trick has failed. It has to have failed. Rochefort closes his eyes. He will have to tell Nimitz they cannot confirm the target. They will have to guess. Position the fleet based on incomplete intelligence. Hope they are right. Then at 6 a.m. on May 29th, 30 hours after Midway sent the message, radio operator Robert Hudson copies a Japanese transmission. Fleet command frequency. Encrypted with JN-25, 72 code groups. He sends it upstairs marked priority. Finnegan grabs it, starts running the groups through Station HYPO's partial codebook. Most groups are still unbreakable. Then he sees one, 83427. AF. He keeps working. 4 groups later, 16884. Water, then 77341. Supply. Then 93556. Station Hypo thinks 93556 means shortage or problem. Finnegan stands so fast his chair falls over. He walks to Rochefort's desk. Rochefort is asleep, his head on his arms. Finnegan shakes his shoulder. "Commander, we have it." Rochefort lifts his head. "Have what?" Finnegan hands him the decrypt. The Japanese just reported that AF is experiencing water supply problems. Rochefort reads it again. Then he smiles. First time in 3 weeks. "AF is Midway," he says quietly. "We have proof." Within an hour, Rochefort is on the phone with Nimitz's headquarters. Within 2 hours, the message goes to Washington. Station Hypo has proven AF equals Midway Island. The Japanese are coming, and the Americans know. But knowing the target is only part of the puzzle. Station HYPO still needs to determine the exact date, the size of the Japanese force, the number of carriers, the line of approach, the composition of the invasion fleet. They need to give Nimitz actionable intelligence, complete intelligence, because Nimitz will have to position 3 carriers against 10 Japanese carriers in an ocean that spans half the planet. One mistake, one wrong guess about timing or position. The American carriers sail into an ambush. Rochefort looks at his team. They are destroyed, exhausted, running on coffee and adrenaline. But now they have confirmation. Now they know their work matters. "We have 6 days," Rochefort tells them. "I need every intercept analysed, every code group identified. I need to know how many carriers they are sending. I need their approach vector. I need the attack time down to the hour. Washington will second-guess us. OP-20G will argue with everything we report. We need to be absolutely right. Not probably right. Not mostly right. Absolutely right. Because if we are wrong, we lose the war." Nobody responds. They understand. In 6 days, the Japanese combined fleet sails toward Midway with more carriers than have ever operated together. If Station Hypo gives Nimitz accurate intelligence, the Americans have a chance. If they are wrong about the timing, about force composition, about the approach angle, the American carriers sail into a massacre. Everything depends on 14 men in a basement breaking a code they only partially understand in less than a week. Rochefort walks back to his desk, lights another cigarette, opens the next intercept. Then he sees something that makes his blood freeze. A new message. Intercepted 20 minutes ago. The first 3 code groups are one Station Hypo has already broken. 55734. Code 88219. Change 62847. Partial. The Japanese are changing part of their code, not the entire system. But enough. Some of the code groups Station Hypo has spent months identifying are about to become worthless. They will have to start over on portions of the codebook, while trying to decrypt the operational orders for the largest naval battle in history, while racing against a 6-day deadline. Rochefort reads the message again. Then he looks at his team. They have not seen this intercept yet. They are celebrating the AF confirmation. Believing they have 6 days to break the remaining code groups, they do not know that the Japanese just changed the rules. Rochefort makes a decision. He will tell them. But not yet. Let them have this moment. Let them believe for 1 more hour that the hard part is over. Because in 1 hour, when he shows them this intercept, they will understand the truth. The hard part is just beginning, and they might already be out of time. May 29th, 1942, 7:30 a.m. Commander Rochefort stands in front of his team holding the intercept that confirms AF is Midway. Proof, hard evidence, except nobody in Washington wants to believe it. On his desk is a message from OP-20G, the Office of Naval Intelligence in Washington. They have analysed the same water trap intercept. Their conclusion: Station Hypo fabricated evidence to support a preconceived theory. The water message proves nothing. AF is still the Aleutian Islands. The Japanese main attack will hit Alaska. Midway is a diversion. Rochefort reads the message twice, then he crumples it and throws it across the room. "They are calling us liars," Lieutenant Commander Holmes says quietly. "They are calling us wrong," Rochefort says. Which is worse? The problem is politics. OP-20G is headquartered in Washington, close to the admirals, close to the politicians, close to power. Station Hypo is 5,000 miles away, in a basement in Hawaii. When OP-20G says the attack is coming in Alaska, people listen. When Station Hypo says Midway, people ask for more proof. The kind of proof that Rochefort cannot provide because they are only reading 15% of JN25. Because cryptanalysis is not certainty. It is probability. Educated guessing. And right now, Washington wants certainty that does not exist. Rochefort picks up the phone, calls Admiral Nimitz's headquarters, gets transferred 3 times, finally reaches Captain Edwin Layton. Layton is Nimitz's intelligence officer, a good man, a man who has trusted Station HYPO before. "Captain, we have confirmation," Rochefort says. "AF is Midway. The Japanese took our bait. They reported Midway's water problems using the AF designator. It is undeniable." There is a pause on the line. Washington says you manufactured the evidence. Washington is wrong. Washington says you sent the water message specifically to create evidence for a conclusion you already believed. "We did," Rochefort says. "That was the entire point. But the Japanese response is real. They intercepted our message. They reported it to their fleet using AF. That proves AF equals Midway." Another pause, longer. OP-20G says the Japanese might use AF for multiple locations. Maybe AF means the Aleutians in some messages and Midway in others. Rochefort closes his eyes, takes a breath, forces himself to stay calm. "Captain, with respect, that is insane. The Japanese do not reuse location designators. Every base has one code. Tokyo is JJ. Truck is RR. AF is one location, and we just proved that location is Midway." "I believe you," Layton says, "but I am not the one you need to convince. Admiral King wants more evidence." Admiral Ernest King, Commander-in-Chief of the United States Fleet, based in Washington. A hard man, a political man, a man who does not like being told he is wrong. And right now, King believes OP-20G. Believes the attack is coming in Alaska. Believes Midway is a diversion. "What kind of evidence?" Rochefort asks. "Order of battle," Layton says. "Force composition, exact date and time. Approach vector. Give me intelligence specific enough that Admiral Nimitz can position the fleet with confidence. Give me something that proves you are not guessing." Rochefort looks at the stack of intercepts on his desk. Hundreds of messages, most still encrypted. "Captain, we are reading 15% of their code, maybe 20% now. We can see fragments, pieces. We know carriers are involved. We know invasion transports. We know it is big. But exact numbers? Exact times? That requires breaking code groups we have never seen before." "Then break them," Layton says. "You have 6 days. The line goes dead. Rochefort hangs up, stands there for a moment staring at nothing. Then he walks to the centre of the room. His entire team is watching him. 14 men who have been working 18-hour shifts for weeks. Men who are exhausted, strung out on coffee and cigarettes. Men who just had their greatest success, called a fabrication by Washington. "Nimitz needs order of battle," Rochefort tells them. "He needs force composition, timing, approach angle. He needs intelligence detailed enough to position 3 carriers in an ocean the size of the continental United States. And he needs it in 6 days. We are only reading 20% of the code," Ensign Jack Williams says. "Then we get to 30%, Rochefort says. 40 if possible. We work every intercept. We identify every pattern. We make educated guesses when we have to. And we give Nimitz what he needs." "What if we are wrong?" Williams asks quietly. Rochefort looks at him, really looks at him. Williams is 24 years old, a math prodigy from Yale. Before the war, he was going to be a professor. Now he is trying to predict a naval battle from encrypted radio signals. Now he is one mistake away from causing the greatest American naval disaster in history. If we are wrong, Rochefort says slowly, then 15,000 American sailors die, 3 carriers sink. Japan controls the Pacific. Hawaii falls within months. The West Coast is defenseless. That is what happens if we are wrong. So we will not be wrong. The room is silent. Get to work, Rochefort says. For the next 72 hours, Station Hypo operates on a wartime schedule that borders on insanity. The analysts work in 4-hour shifts around the clock. When they are not decrypting, they are sleeping on cots in the corner. When they are not sleeping, they are decrypting. Coffee flows constantly. Cigarettes burn in every ashtray. The air is thick with smoke and sweat and desperation. Rochefort does not sleep at all. He stays at his desk, coordinating the effort. Every time an analyst breaks a new code group, Rochefort adds it to the master list. Every time a pattern emerges, he maps it. He is building a picture from fragments, like assembling a jigsaw puzzle in the dark, with half the pieces missing and a 6-day deadline. By May 30th, they have identified new code groups, 88,342, First Carrier Strike Force, 77,219, Vice Admiral Nagumo, 66,581, 4 carriers, that is the core of the Japanese attack, the same 4 carriers that hit Pearl Harbor 6 months ago. Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, Hiryu, the most powerful carrier force in the world. But 4 carriers is not the entire force. The intercepts mention other units, other designators. Station Hypo identifies 52884, Invasion Force, and 43917, Support Group, and 19447, battleships. The Japanese are not just attacking Midway, they are planning to invade it, capture it, turn it into a forward base for operations against Hawaii. Rochefort maps the force structure on a large board. It is incomplete, full of gaps, but a picture is forming. The Japanese are committing everything: carriers, battleships, cruisers, destroyers, transports. Thousands of troops. It is the largest naval operation since Pearl Harbor, maybe the largest in history. On May 31st, Lieutenant Finnegan breaks a critical intercept. The message contains a code group Station Hypo has never fully understood, 38847. Finnegan has been tracking this group for days. It appears in messages related to timing, related to coordination. He believes 38847 is a time hack, a specific moment when all Japanese forces will be in position. He runs the numbers, cross-references with other intercepts, checks his work 3 times. Then he sees it. June 4th, 0430 hours local time. That is when the Japanese carriers will launch their first strike against Midway. "Commander," Finnegan says, walking to Rochefort's desk, "I have the attack time, June 4th, 0430 hours. First strike launches from carrier's position northwest of Midway, approximately 200 miles out." Rochefort stares at the decrypt. This is what Nimitz needs. Specific, actionable, the exact moment when the war in the Pacific will be decided. "How confident are you?" 80%, Finnegan says. "Not good enough." "It is the best we have," Rochefort thinks. 80%. If he is right, Nimitz can position the American carriers perfectly, ambush the Japanese at dawn. If he is wrong, the American fleet sails into a massacre. 80%. Those are good odds in peacetime. In war, they are terrifying. "Keep working," Rochefort says. "I want 90% confidence. I want confirmation from multiple intercepts." Finnegan nods and goes back to his desk. June 1st, 2 a.m., 3 days until the suspected attack. Rochefort is reviewing intercepts when Williams walks over. His face is pale. He is holding a decrypt with shaking hands. "Commander, we have a problem." Rochefort looks up. What problem? Code Group 38847, the time hack. I think Finnegan got it wrong. Rochefort's stomach drops. Explain. I have been cross-referencing 38,847 with other date-related code groups, Williams says. The structure does not match. 38,847 might not be a time. It might be a date, June 3rd, which means the attack could come 24 hours earlier than we think. Rochefort feels ice in his chest. If the attack is June 3rd, not June 4th, then Nimitz positions the fleet wrong. The carriers arrive a day late. The Japanese hit Midway unopposed, destroy the airfield, land invasion forces. By the time the American carriers arrive, the battle is over. Show me your work, Rochefort says. Williams spreads papers across the desk, shows his analysis, the code group structure, the pattern matching. It makes sense. It is logical. It could be correct. Get Finnegan, Rochefort says, now. For the next 3 hours, Station Hypo argues about one code group. Finnegan defends his interpretation. Williams defends his. They pull every intercept that contains 38,847. They analyze context, structure, patterns. Rochefort sits between them chain-smoking cigarettes, trying to determine who is right, because one of them is wrong, and being wrong means losing the war. At 5 a.m., Finnegan finds it. Another intercept, one they decoded 2 days ago. It contains 38,847 and another code group, 77,634. Station Hypo knows 77,634. It means morning or dawn. Not date, not June 3rd. Morning, which means 38,847 is a time, 4:30 hours. Finnegan was right. Williams was wrong. Williams sits down hard, puts his head in his hands. I am sorry. I thought... You did your job, Rochefort says. You questioned the analysis. That is what you are supposed to do. Better we find the error now than after Nimitz positions the fleet. But those 3 hours cost Rochefort something. He feels it in his chest. The weight, the pressure. They are making life and death decisions based on fragments of information. One misinterpreted code group, one wrong assumption. 15,000 men die. By June 1st evening, they have identified significant portions of the Japanese plan. 4 carriers in the strike force under Admiral Nagumo. 2 additional light carriers in a support group. 11 battleships, 8 heavy cruisers, dozens of destroyers, 5,000 invasion troops. The attack will come from the northwest. First strike at dawn on June 4th. Follow-up strikes throughout the day. Invasion force will land once American air power is destroyed. Rochefort compiles everything into a report. 10 pages. Single-spaced. Every fact sourced from specific intercepts. Every conclusion backed by pattern analysis. He reads it 3 times, checks every number, every assumption. His career depends on this report. More than his career. Lives depend on it. June 2nd, 4 a.m. Rochefort stands up to walk to the bathroom. His right leg collapses, just folds underneath him. He catches himself on the desk. Pain shoots through his knee. His leg is numb, completely numb. He has been sitting for 14 hours straight. No blood flow, no movement. Holmes rushes over. Commander, you need to sleep. Rochefort shakes his head, grabs the desk, tries to stand. His leg will not support his weight. Pins and needles. Burning. He can feel circulation returning, but it hurts. Everything hurts. Commander, Holmes says again, you are going to collapse. Sleep after we know the fleet is positioned, Rochefort says. He limps to the coffee pot. His leg barely works. He pours coffee. His hand shakes so badly he spills half of it on the desk. He does not care. He drinks what is left and limps back to his chair. At 9 a.m., Rochefort picks up the phone, calls Captain Layton. "Captain, I have your intelligence," Rochefort says. "Japanese attack on Midway, June 4th, dawn. 4 fleet carriers under Admiral Nagumo, plus support units. Total force approximately 150 ships. They will approach from the northwest. Launch first strike at approximately 0430 local time from 200 miles out. Invasion force will land after airstrikes neutralize Midway's defenses." Leighton is silent for a moment. "How confident are you?" 90%. "Not 100? Cryptanalysis is never 100%, Captain. We are working with fragments. But I am confident enough to stake my career on this. I am confident enough to recommend Admiral Nimitz position our entire carrier force based on this intelligence. 3 carriers, 15,000 men. I am telling you, this is correct." Another pause, longer. "I will brief the Admiral. Stand by." Rochefort hangs up, looks at his team. They are all watching him, waiting. Everything they have done for the past 6 months comes down to this phone call. If Nimitz believes them, the fleet moves to Midway. If he does not, it moves to Alaska. One decision, one man, everything. 20 minutes later, the phone rings. Rochefort picks up. "Commander Rochefort, this is Admiral Nimitz." Rochefort stands up even though Nimitz cannot see him. His leg almost collapses again. He catches himself. "Admiral." "Captain Leighton briefed me on your intelligence. I have one question. Are you certain AF is Midway?" "Yes, sir. Absolutely certain. OP-20G says AF is the Aleutians. They say your water trap proves nothing. They say you are seeing patterns that do not exist." Rochefort closes his eyes. This is the moment. This is everything. "Admiral, OP-20G is wrong. We have proof. We tricked the Japanese into confirming their target. They reported Midway's water problems using the AF designator. AF is Midway. The attack is June 4th at dawn. 4 carriers. This is not a guess. This is intelligence." Silence on the line. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. Rochefort can hear his own heartbeat, can feel his entire team watching him, can feel the weight of 15,000 lives hanging on what Nimitz says next. "Commander, if you are wrong, you are sending 15,000 men to their deaths," Nimitz says quietly. "I need you to understand what I am asking. I need you to look me in the eye through this phone line and tell me you are certain. Not 90%. Certain. Because if I position the fleet at Midway and the Japanese hit Alaska, those 3 carriers are the only thing standing between Japan and the West Coast. If they are in the wrong place, we lose. Do you understand?" Rochefort feels his throat tighten. His hands are shaking. His leg is throbbing. He has not slept in 4 days. He is running on coffee and cigarettes and desperation. But he looks at the intercepts on his desk, the patterns, the water trap, the code groups, the 200 messages his team has decrypted over 6 days. He knows. He knows with a certainty that transcends mathematics. AF is Midway. The Japanese are coming, and the Americans can be ready. "Admiral, I am certain," Rochefort says. "AF is Midway, June 4th at dawn, 4 carriers approaching from the northwest. I stake my career on it. I stake everything on it. Position the fleet at Midway." The silence stretches. 15 seconds. 20. Then Nimitz speaks. "Your career and 15,000 lives, Commander. I am positioning the fleet at Midway. Enterprise and Hornet will sortie from Pearl Harbor today. Yorktown will sortie as soon as emergency repairs are complete. You have given me a chance. Do not make me regret trusting you." "You will not regret it, Admiral." The line goes dead. Rochefort sets down the phone. His hand is shaking so badly the receiver rattles. He looks at his team. They are staring at him with exhausted, hopeful, terrified faces. "Nimitz is positioning the fleet at Midway," Rochefort says quietly. "He is betting everything on our intelligence. 3 carriers, 15,000 men. If we are right, we have a chance." If we are wrong, he does not finish the sentence. He does not need to. They all understand. They have just gambled the Pacific Fleet on 6 days of cryptanalysis, on fragments of decoded messages, on patterns they think they see in Japanese communications. They are either heroes or they are the men who lost the war. There is no middle ground. For the next 2 days, Station Hypo continues monitoring Japanese communications, refining intelligence. On June 2nd, they intercept a message from Admiral Yamamoto, commander of the Japanese Combined Fleet. He is departing Hashirajima anchorage with the main battle fleet. Battleship Yamato, the largest warship in the world, 72,000 tons, 9 18-inch guns. Yamamoto is coming personally. This is not a raid. This is an invasion. The Japanese are committing everything. On June 3rd, Rochefort receives word that Enterprise and Hornet have taken up positions northeast of Midway, hidden, waiting. Yorktown, barely repaired after taking 3 bomb hits at Coral Sea 3 weeks ago, has sortied from Pearl Harbor. Damage control teams are still working on her as she steams toward Midway. 3 American carriers against 4 Japanese carriers. The odds are bad. But the Americans have something the Japanese do not. Surprise. The Japanese think their code is secure. They think the Americans do not know they are coming. They are wrong. June 4th, 1942. 3 a.m. Hawaii time. Rochefort sits at his desk, listening to Japanese radio frequencies through headphones. His team surrounds him. Nobody speaks. They are listening, waiting. In 90 minutes, if their intelligence is correct, Japanese carriers will launch their strike against Midway, and the Americans will be waiting. At 4:30 a.m., the Japanese radio frequencies explode with activity. Attack orders, coordination messages, strike group reporting ready for launch. Rochefort listens. His heart is pounding. The Japanese carriers have launched. Over 100 aircraft heading toward Midway. It is happening. Everything Station Hypo predicted is coming true. The timing, the location, the force composition. They were right. But now comes the hardest part. Waiting. Rochefort and his team cannot affect the battle. They can only listen. Monitor. Hope that Admiral Nimitz uses their intelligence correctly. Hope that the American carriers find the Japanese fleet. Hope that 6 days of cryptanalysis translates into victory 1,300 miles away. At 5:30 a.m., Midway reports inbound Japanese aircraft. The island's radar has picked them up 90 miles out. Fighters scramble. Anti-aircraft guns prepare. Every Marine on the island takes position. The battle has begun. And 5,000 miles away in Washington, OP-20G is realizing they were wrong. The attack is not in Alaska. It is at Midway, exactly where Station Hypo said it would be. Exactly when Station Hypo predicted. Rochefort takes off his headphones, lights a cigarette. His hands are still shaking, but not from fear, from exhaustion, from relief. They were right about the target. They were right about the timing. Now the battle is out of his hands. Now it depends on pilots and bombs and luck. Holmes walks over. We did it. We gave them the intelligence. We were right. We were right about when and where, Rochefort says quietly. Now we need to be right about everything else. Because if the Japanese carriers escape, if they sink our carriers being right about the target, will not matter. He puts the headphones back on. The Japanese frequencies are busy but organized. Strike reports, damage assessments from Midway's defenses, coordination for a second strike. Everything is going according to the Japanese plan. They hit Midway hard. The Americans are defending, but the Japanese are winning. Hours pass. Rochefort listens. His team listens. They hear reports of American torpedo bomber attacks. Unsuccessful. Heavy losses. The Japanese are shooting them down. Then more reports. More attacks. More American losses. Rochefort feels his stomach tighten. The American carriers found the Japanese fleet, but they are not winning. They are dying. Then at 10:25 a.m., something changes. The Japanese frequencies go completely silent. 3 seconds of nothing. Then they explode, not with coordination, with panic, frantic messages, damage reports, urgent calls for firefighting crews, carrier names, Akagi, Kaga. Soryu. Something catastrophic has happened, something massive. The tone of the transmissions has changed completely, from confident to desperate in seconds. Rochefort listens. His heart is pounding. He does not know what happened. He cannot know. He is 1,300 miles away, listening to encrypted radio transmissions. But something exploded at 10:22 a.m. Something destroyed the controlled professional Japanese communications and turned them into chaos. The American carriers did something, hit something, changed something. Rochefort looks at his team. They are all listening, all hearing the same panic in the Japanese transmissions, all wondering the same thing. Did we win? Or is this Japanese panic about something else? Is this victory, or is this the sound of American carriers burning? They do not know, cannot know, can only listen and wait, and hope that 6 days in a basement breaking an impossible code was enough to change the war. June 4th, 1942. 3 a.m. Hawaii time. Commander Rochefort sits at his desk wearing headphones. Around him, his team listens to Japanese radio frequencies through their own sets, monitoring, waiting. Nobody speaks. They have not spoken in 30 minutes. Because in 90 minutes, if Station Hypo's intelligence is correct, the Japanese will launch their attack on Midway. And 1,300 miles away, 3 American carriers are waiting in ambush. Waiting based entirely on 6 days of cryptanalysis, on fragments of decoded messages, on patterns Rochefort thinks he sees in Japanese communications. 15,000 American sailors are betting their lives that Station Hypo got it right. Rochefort's hand shakes as he adjusts the radio receiver. He has not slept in 5 days. His right leg is still numb from sitting too long. His eyes burn from cigarette smoke and exhaustion. But he cannot stop now, cannot sleep. Not until he knows whether his intelligence was accurate or whether he just sent the Pacific Fleet into a disaster. At 4:30 a.m., the Japanese frequencies explode with activity. Rochefort sits up straight. His heart pounds. He starts translating in real time. Code groups he recognizes mixed with ones he does not. He hears launch orders. Strike group reporting ready. First wave departing. Over 100 aircraft heading toward Midway. The attack is happening right now. Exactly when Station Hypo predicted. 04:30 hours local time. Rochefort was right about the timing. Now he needs to be right about everything else. They launched, Rochefort says to his team. First strike is airborne. His analysts nod, but say nothing. They are all listening to their own frequencies, all hearing the same thing. The Japanese attack on Midway has begun. For the next hour, Rochefort listens to Japanese communications. They are professional, disciplined, exactly what he expects from the Imperial Japanese Navy. Strike leader reporting course and speed. Weather conditions clear. No enemy contact. The Japanese think they are hitting an unsuspecting target. They think their code is secure. They think the Americans have no idea they are coming. At 5:30 a.m. Midway's radar picks up the incoming strike. Rochefort receives a flash message from the island. Inbound aircraft bearing 310 degrees. Range 90 miles. Fighters scrambling. All personnel to battle stations. The Japanese are 15 minutes out. Midway knows they are coming. The ambush is working. So far. Rochefort lights another cigarette. His hands are shaking worse now. Not from exhaustion, from tension. Everything he predicted is happening. The Japanese are exactly where he said they would be. attacking exactly when he said they would. But knowing the attack is coming and surviving the attack are two different things. Midway has 3,000 Marines and 60 aircraft. The Japanese are sending over 100 aircraft flown by pilots who have been fighting for 5 years. Veterans who hit Pearl Harbor and Darwin and Ceylon. The Marines on Midway are about to face the most experienced naval aviators in the world. At 6 a.m, Rochefort hears Japanese transmissions from the strike leader. Target in sight. Commencing attack. Then nothing but brief coordination messages. The Japanese are busy, dropping bombs, shooting down American fighters. Rochefort cannot hear the battle, can only hear the professional military communications of pilots doing their job. At 6:30 a.m, the Japanese strike leader transmits a damage assessment. Midway defences heavier than expected. Significant anti-aircraft fire. American fighters engaged. Second strike recommended. Rochefort translates the message and feels his stomach tighten. Second strike recommended. Which means the first strike did not destroy Midway. Which means the Japanese will need to rearm their aircraft, load bombs instead of torpedoes. And while they are rearming their carriers, will be vulnerable. Flight decks packed with armed aircraft. Fuel lines exposed. One bomb hit could cause a catastrophe. This is what Station Hypo's intelligence was designed to create. A moment when the Japanese carriers are caught unprepared. When American dive bombers can hit them while they are most vulnerable. But Rochefort does not know if the American carriers found the Japanese fleet. Does not know if the pilots launched. Does not know if his intelligence about the Japanese position was accurate enough. He can only listen to Japanese frequencies and wait. At 7:15 a.m. Rochefort intercepts a message from the Japanese carrier force. They are preparing a second strike against Midway, rearming aircraft, switching from torpedoes to bombs. The carriers are exactly as vulnerable as Station Hypo predicted. But where are the American carriers? Where are the American pilots? Rochefort looks at the clock. The American carriers should have launched 30 minutes ago. The strike should be inbound. Unless they could not find the Japanese, unless Rochefort's coordinates were wrong. Unless the carriers moved and the Americans are searching empty ocean. At 7:40 a.m, the Japanese frequencies report American torpedo bombers attacking. Rochefort sits forward. His heart is racing. The American carriers found them. The pilots launched. The attack is happening. He listens to Japanese transmissions. They are calm. Professional. Enemy torpedo bombers approaching. Combat air patrol engaging. Anti-aircraft batteries firing. The Japanese are shooting down the American planes. Rochefort hears it in their voices. Confidence. Control. They are winning. For the next 2 hours, Rochefort listens to the battle develop. Japanese transmissions report multiple American torpedo bomber attacks. All unsuccessful. Heavy American losses. The Japanese are shooting them down before they can launch torpedoes. Rochefort's hands grip the edge of his desk. The American pilots are dying. Squadrons getting massacred. And the Japanese carriers are still operational, still preparing their second strike, still winning. At 9:30 a.m, Rochefort receives a message from Midway. American torpedo squadron suffered severe casualties. No hits confirmed on Japanese carriers. Rochefort reads the message twice. His chest feels tight. The American torpedo bombers failed. They found the Japanese carriers exactly where Station Hypo said they would be. They attacked exactly as planned. And they were slaughtered. No hits. The Japanese carriers are still operational, still preparing to launch a second strike that will finish Midway. Holmes walks over to Rochefort's desk. "Commander, the torpedo attacks failed." "I know," Rochefort says quietly. "If the dive bombers do not hit them." "I know," Rochefort says again. He does not need Holmes to finish the sentence. If the American dive bombers do not hit the Japanese carriers, the battle is lost. The Japanese will launch their second strike, destroy Midway's airfield, land invasion forces. And the American carriers will have wasted their surprise advantage, will have revealed their positions without achieving anything. Rochefort puts his headphones back on. The Japanese frequencies are busy but organized. Damage reports from the torpedo attacks. Minor. No carriers hit. Combat air patrol shot down most American aircraft. Rearming operations continuing. Second strike will launch at 10:30 hours. Everything is going according to Japanese plans. They think they won. Think the American attacks failed. Think their carriers are safe. At 10:20 a.m., the Japanese frequencies are routine, professional, boring. Rochefort listens to coordination messages, weather reports, status updates, the calm professional communications of a navy that thinks it is winning. Then at 10:22 a.m., the Japanese frequencies go completely silent. Rochefort sits up, checks his receiver. The frequency is clear. No transmission. Just silence. 3 seconds. 5 seconds. This is wrong. Japanese carriers do not go silent during combat operations. They maintain constant communication. Rochefort's heart is pounding. Something happened. Something catastrophic enough to interrupt all transmissions. Then the frequency explodes, not with professional military communications, with screaming, actual screaming. A Japanese voice so high-pitched and panicked that Rochefort almost does not recognize it as human. The voice is not speaking Japanese military terminology. It is just screaming words. Akagi, hit, fire, bombs. The transmission cuts off. Then another voice, different frequency, same panic. Kaga reporting, multiple hits, flight deck on fire, cannot launch aircraft. This voice is crying. Rochefort has been listening to Japanese naval communications for 6 months. He has never heard a Japanese officer cry. Another transmission. Soryu. Soryu hit. Fires out of control. Abandoning forward spaces. This voice is calmer, but Rochefort can hear explosions in the background. Loud explosions. The sound of ammunition cooking off. The sound of a ship dying. Rochefort takes off his headphones. His hands are shaking so badly he almost drops them. He looks at his team. They are all staring at him. They all heard it. The panic, the terror, the chaos. What happened? Williams asks. I do not know, Rochefort says. His voice sounds strange, distant. Something hit them. Something hit all of them at once. He puts the headphones back on. The Japanese frequencies are chaos now. Overlapping transmissions, ships reporting simultaneously, breaking radio discipline, frantic calls for damage control teams, for firefighting equipment, for medical assistance. Rochefort tries to translate, but the messages are coming too fast. Too many voices, too much panic. He catches fragments, code groups he recognizes: Akagi, the flagship, Admiral Nagumo's carrier, on fire, Kaga, on fire, Soryu, on fire. 3 carriers, 3 out of 4 carriers in the strike force. All hit, all burning, all within minutes of each other. Rochefort realizes what happened. The American dive bombers found the Japanese carriers while they were rearming, while their flight decks were packed with armed aircraft, while fuel lines were exposed. The dive bombers hit them at exactly the moment when one bomb could cause a catastrophe. And from the sound of the Japanese transmissions, catastrophe is exactly what happened. At 10:35 a.m. Rochefort receives a flash message from Midway. American dive bombers attacked Japanese carriers at 10:22 hours. Multiple hits observed. 3 carriers on fire. Repeat. 3 Japanese carriers confirmed burning. Rochefort reads the message. Then he stands up. His leg collapses. He does not care. He catches himself on the desk, looks at his team. They are watching him, waiting. 3 carriers, Rochefort says. His voice cracks. 3 Japanese carriers are burning. The Americans hit them. Station Haipo put the carriers in exactly the right position at exactly the right time, and the pilots hit them. The room erupts, analysts jumping up, shouting, shaking hands, slapping backs. 6 days of breaking codes, 6 days of arguing with Washington, 6 days of 18-hour shifts and no sleep and coffee and cigarettes and desperation. It worked. All of it worked. The intelligence was accurate. The American carriers were positioned correctly. The Japanese sailed straight into an ambush. But Rochefort is not celebrating. He is listening to the Japanese frequencies. Because the battle is not over. 3 carriers are burning, but there were 4 carriers in the strike force. Huryu, the 4th carrier. Rochefort searches the frequencies, finds transmissions from Huryu. She is still operational, still launching aircraft. The Japanese are mounting a counterstrike. At 11 a.m., Japanese transmissions confirm it. Huryu has launched dive bombers and fighters. They are hunting for the American carrier that launched the attack. Rochefort listens to the coordination messages. The Japanese pilots are professionals, experienced, angry. They just watched 3 carriers die. Now they want revenge. At 12:20 p.m., the Japanese frequencies spike with excitement, different excitement than the earlier panic. This is triumph. Rochefort translates. American carrier hit, multiple bombs, fires, heavy damage, Yorktown. The Japanese hit Yorktown, the carrier that was supposed to be in dry dock for 3 months, the carrier that was repaired in 48 hours and sent to Midway because Rochefort said every available carrier would be needed. Rochefort feels ice in his chest. Yorktown. 2,000 men. The Americans won the exchange. 3 Japanese carriers for 1 American carrier. But the Pacific Fleet only had 3 carriers. Now it has 2. And the Japanese still have 7 more carriers that were not at Midway, still have the combined fleet, still have battleships and cruisers and destroyers. The war is not over, not even close. For the next 2 hours, Rochefort monitors both Japanese and American frequencies. The Japanese are trying to save their carriers, damage control teams fighting fires, medical teams treating casualties. But the damage is catastrophic. Station Hypo's intelligence put American dive bombers over Japanese carriers at the exact moment when they were most vulnerable. And the result is carnage. At 2:45 p.m., the Japanese frequencies explode again, not with panic this time, with despair. Huryu has been hit. American dive bombers found her, multiple hits. The last operational Japanese carrier is burning. All 4 carriers that attacked Midway are now destroyed or dying. The entire Kido Butai, the 1st Air Fleet, the carriers that hit Pearl Harbor, gone. Rochefort listens to a transmission from a Japanese destroyer. The voice is steady, but hollow. Akagi is being abandoned. Admiral Nagumo is transferring his flag. The flagship is lost. Rochefort writes down the time, 2:47 p.m., the moment the Japanese Navy realizes it lost the battle, lost 4 fleet carriers, lost 280 aircraft, lost the war in the Pacific. Over the next 24 hours, Rochefort monitors Japanese communications as they try to salvage something from the disaster, try to save the burning carriers, try to reorganize, try to figure out what went wrong. But nothing can be saved. The carriers are dying, and Rochefort listens to each one sink. At 7:10 p.m. on June 4th, he intercepts a transmission from Soryu. The voice is calm. Resigned. This is Soryu. We are abandoning ship. All hands to life rafts. Long live the Emperor. Then silence. 3 minutes later, Midway radar reports Soryu disappeared from their screens. Rochefort writes the time in his log. 7:13 p.m. He does not know why he writes it. Maybe because someone should remember the exact moment a ship dies. 718 men gone, swallowed by the Pacific. Kaga sinks at 7:25 p.m. 800 men lost. Akagi burns through the night. At 5 a.m. on June 5th, the Japanese scuttle her, torpedo her to prevent capture. She goes down, taking 267 men with her. Hiryu fights the longest. Her crew battles fires for 10 hours. At 9 a.m. on June 5th, they give up, scuttle her. 416 men die, 4 fleet carriers, the pride of the Imperial Japanese Navy, gone. Over 2,200 Japanese sailors dead, the greatest Japanese naval defeat in 300 years. And it happened because Station Hypo broke enough of a code to predict where and when the attack would come. On June 5th, Rochefort intercepts a transmission from Admiral Yamamoto, the commander of the combined fleet, the man who planned the Midway operation. He is ordering a general withdrawal. The invasion is cancelled. The fleet is retreating back to Japan. Operation Midway is a complete failure. Rochefort takes off his headphones. He has been listening to Japanese frequencies for 50 hours straight, listening to a navy realize it lost, listening to ships sink, listening to men die. He stands up. His entire body aches. His eyes burn. His hands shake. He walks to the bathroom, locks the door, looks at himself in the mirror. He looks like hell. Unshaven, grey skin, bloodshot eyes. He has lost 15 pounds in 6 days, but he just helped win the most important naval battle in American history. Station HYPO predicted a Japanese operation so accurately that American carriers were waiting in perfect ambush position, and the Japanese sailed straight into it. Rochefort splashes water on his face. Then he goes back to his desk. There is a message from Admiral Nimitz waiting. "Well done, Commander. Your intelligence was critical to our success. The Pacific Fleet owes you a debt that cannot be repaid. We destroyed 4 enemy carriers because you told us where to find them." Rochefort reads the message twice. Then he folds it and puts it in his pocket. He knows what is coming. Washington will take credit. OP-20G will claim they contributed. Politicians will congratulate themselves, and Station Hypo will go back to being 14 men in a basement that nobody believes. But right now, Rochefort allows himself to feel something he has not felt in months: pride, relief, vindication. He was right. AF was Midway. The attack came on June 4th at 0430 hours. 4 carriers approached from the northwest. Everything Station Hypo predicted came true. And because of that, 15,000 American sailors are still alive. Holmes walks over. "We did it, Commander. We won." Rochefort nods, but he is thinking about something else, something that terrifies him. For 6 months, Station Hypo has been reading Japanese codes, getting better, getting inside their heads. Rochefort knows Japanese procedures, Japanese terminology, Japanese thinking. He predicted their largest naval operation in history down to the hour. And if he can read them that well, the Japanese will eventually realize it, will realize their codes are compromised, will change everything. And Station Hypo will go blind right when the Americans need intelligence most. "We won this battle," Rochefort says quietly. "But we might have shown our hand. The Japanese got ambushed at exactly the right moment. Their carriers got hit while rearming. Their forces were exactly where we predicted. How long before they asked themselves how the Americans knew?" Holmes frowns. "You think they will figure out we broke their code?" "I think we just won too perfectly," Rochefort says. "We put 3 carriers in exactly the right position at exactly the right time. That does not happen by accident. That happens because of intelligence. And Japanese naval intelligence is good. Eventually, someone will start asking questions." He picks up the next intercept from the stack on his desk, looks at the code groups. For now, the Japanese are still using JN25, still transmitting, still giving Station HYPO intelligence. But every message could be the last one before they change the system. Every intercept could be the last easy one. "Get some sleep," Rochefort tells Holmes. "All of you. We have 24 hours to rest. Then we go back to work. Because the Japanese are going to change something. Maybe not today. Maybe not this month. But eventually they will realize we are reading them. And when they do, we need to be ready to start over. His team stumbles to the cots, collapses. Within minutes, they are asleep. Rochefort sits at his desk, alone. He lights a cigarette, looks at the intercept in his hand. Station Hypo just proved that cryptanalysis can win battles, that intelligence can sink carriers, that 14 men in a basement can change history. But proving it means the Japanese now know it is possible. Know that somehow the Americans predicted their attack, and scared enemies are dangerous enemies. Enemies who change their codes, who tighten their security, who make Station Hypo's job harder. Midway was a victory, the greatest American naval victory of the war. But it might have been the last time the Japanese make it easy. Rochefort starts reading the intercept. The war continues, and Station Hypo has work to do before the Japanese realize how badly their secrets have been compromised. June 8, 1942, 4 days after the Battle of Midway. Commander Rochefort receives a coded message from Washington. Report to Admiral King's office immediately. Bring all intelligence assessments related to Midway operation. Rochefort reads the message twice. Then he smiles. Washington wants a briefing. They want to understand how Station Hypo predicted the battle. Maybe they want to expand cryptanalysis operations. Give Station Hypo more resources, more personnel, recognition for what they accomplished. He does not realize he is about to be destroyed. Rochefort flies to Washington on June 12th, arrives at the Navy Department building exhausted. He has not slept properly in 2 weeks. His uniform hangs loose. He has lost 20 pounds, but he is proud. He predicted the Battle of Midway, gave Admiral Nimitz intelligence so accurate that 3 American carriers ambushed 4 Japanese carriers. Station Hypo won the battle before the first bomb fell. The briefing room is full. Admiral Ernest King, Commander-in-Chief of the United States Fleet, Admiral Richmond Turner, Director of War Plans, Captain Joseph Redman, Head of OP-20G, the Navy's Washington-based cryptanalysis unit, the unit that said the Japanese would attack Alaska, not Midway, the unit that was completely wrong. Rochefort presents his analysis, shows them the intercepted messages, explains how Station Hypo broke JN-25, describes the water trap that proved AF was Midway, details the order of battle, the timing, the force composition, everything. He speaks for 90 minutes, proves that Station Hypo's intelligence was critical to the American victory, proves that without cryptanalysis, Midway would have been a disaster. When he finishes, Admiral King asks one question. Commander, why did OP-20G reach a different conclusion about the target? Rochefort knows this is dangerous. He can lie, say OP-20G's analysis was reasonable, that both stations did good work, that it was just a disagreement about interpretation, or he can tell the truth. He chooses truth. OP-20G analysed the intercepts from Washington, Rochefort says. They did not have operational context. Station Hypo has been tracking Japanese fleet movements for 6 months. We know their patterns, their procedures, their thinking. OP-20G was guessing from 5,000 miles away. We were listening in real time. Captain Redman's face turns red. Are you suggesting OP-20G is incompetent? I am suggesting Station Hypo was better positioned to analyse this specific intelligence, Rochefort says carefully. We were right about AF. We were right about the timing. We were right about force composition. OP-20G was wrong about all of it. The room goes silent. Rochefort has just told the Navy's senior cryptanalysis officer that his unit failed, that a basement operation in Hawaii beat the entire Washington intelligence establishment. This is not how you advance in the Navy. This is not how you make friends. This is how you make enemies who will spend years destroying you. Admiral King dismisses Rochefort. Thank you, Commander. We will review your report. Rochefort flies back to Hawaii. He thinks the briefing went well, thinks he proved Station Hypo's value, thinks Washington will recognize what cryptanalysis can accomplish. He does not realize he just signed his death warrant. Over the next 3 months, Washington begins revising history. Official reports credit OP-20G with providing critical intelligence for the Midway operation. Station Hypo is mentioned as a supporting element. The water trap that proved AF was Midway is attributed to joint efforts by Washington and Hawaii stations. Rochefort's name starts disappearing from reports. OP-20G's name starts appearing. In September 1942, Rochefort is recommended for the Distinguished Service Medal, the Navy's second highest non-combat decoration. The recommendation comes from Admiral Nimitz personally. Nimitz writes that Rochefort's intelligence was essential to the American victory at Midway, that his leadership of Station Hypo was brilliant, that he deserves recognition. The recommendation goes to Washington, to Captain Redman's desk. Redman reads it. Then he writes his own assessment. Rochefort's role has been exaggerated. OP-20G provided equally important intelligence. Giving Rochefort a medal would insult the men in Washington who worked just as hard. The recommendation is denied. Rochefort learns about this in a phone call from a friend in Washington. The friend tells him quietly that Captain Redman blocked the medal, that Washington is angry, Station Hypo made them look bad, that Rochefort should expect consequences. What kind of consequences? Rochefort asks. The kind that end careers, his friend says. On October 1st, 1942, Rochefort receives new orders. He is being relieved as head of Station Hypo, effective immediately. He is being reassigned to command a floating drydock in San Francisco. A floating drydock. After breaking JN-25, after predicting the Battle of Midway, after sinking 4 Japanese carriers without firing a shot. Joseph Rochefort is being sent to supervise ship repairs. His team is devastated. Holmes asks him what happened. Rochefort knows exactly what happened, but explaining it makes him sick. I embarrassed Captain Redman, Rochefort says quietly. I told the truth about OP-20G being wrong. I made Washington look bad, and the Navy does not forgive that. Ever. You saved the Pacific Fleet, Holmes says. You won the battle. I did my job, Rochefort says. I thought that would be enough. But in the Navy, doing your job is not enough if you make the wrong people look bad while doing it. OP-20G said the Japanese would attack Alaska. They were completely wrong. I proved they were wrong. And now I am being punished for being right. He packs his office on October 5th. Books, papers, code sheets, everything he built over 2 years. His replacement arrives the next day. A Washington man. Someone who understands politics. Someone who will not embarrass OP-20G. Someone who will coordinate better with Captain Redman. Rochefort leaves Station Hypo on October 8th, 1942, 4 months after the Battle of Midway. He walks out of the basement where he broke Japanese codes, where he predicted the greatest American naval victory of the Pacific War, where he changed history. He never comes back. For the next 3 years, Rochefort commands a floating drydock, then a logistics base, desk jobs, meaningless assignments far from combat. He watches other officers get promoted for victories his intelligence enabled. Guadalcanal, Philippine Sea, Leyte Gulf. All those victories happened because Station Hypo and other code-breaking units continued reading Japanese communications, continued tracking fleet movements, continued predicting operations, using methods Rochefort developed, but his name is never mentioned. His contribution is never acknowledged. April 18th, 1943. Station Hypo intercepts a message that will haunt Rochefort for the rest of his life. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto is flying from Rabaul to Bougainville. The message contains his complete itinerary. Departure time 600 hours. Flight path along the coast. Arrival time 9:45 hours at Balale Airfield. Every detail. The intelligence goes to Washington, then to President Roosevelt, the man who planned Pearl Harbor, the commander of the Japanese combined fleet, flying a predictable route that American fighters can intercept. Roosevelt personally authorizes the mission. On April 18th, P-38 Lightning fighters from Guadalcanal shoot down Yamamoto's aircraft over Bougainville. The admiral dies instantly when his plane crashes into the jungle. Japan is shocked. Yamamoto's schedule was top secret, transmitted using JN-25D, their most secure code. How did the Americans know? Japanese naval intelligence launches an investigation. They suspect a spy in Rabaul, a traitor with access to Yamamoto's staff. They interrogate officers, execute suspects, never consider that their codes might be compromised, because breaking JN-25 should be impossible. But the investigation makes them nervous. They increase radio discipline, change transmission procedures, start using one-time pads for critical messages. And in June 1943, they introduced JN-25 version E, a completely new codebook. Station Hypo has to start over. All the work they did, breaking JN-25D, is worthless. They spend 4 months rebuilding their codebook, 4 months when American intelligence is partially blind. Rochefort hears about the code change while commanding his drydock in San Francisco. He understands immediately what happened. The Yamamoto assassination was too perfect, too precise. The Americans knew exactly where he would be, and exactly when. The Japanese did not figure out their codes were broken, but they realized something was wrong. They tightened security. The thing Rochefort feared after Midway finally happened. The Americans won so perfectly, the enemy realized they needed better protection. The war ends in August 1945. Japan surrenders. The codebreakers go home. They sign secrecy agreements that forbid them from ever discussing their work. They cannot tell their families what they did during the war, cannot tell friends, cannot write memoirs, cannot claim credit. They bury the greatest accomplishment of their lives and carry the secret forever. Joseph Rochefort retires from the Navy in 1946. He is 46 years old. He commands a floating drydock. Never received the Distinguished Service Medal he was recommended for. Never received promotion above commander. Never received recognition for predicting Midway. He goes home to California, gets a job as a building contractor, raises his family, and never mentions Station Hypo to anyone. December 1965. Rochefort's living room in Torrance, California. He is 65 years old, retired for 19 years. His daughter Nancy is visiting for Christmas. She is 37, married, 2 children. She finds her father sitting in his armchair staring at a book. His hands are shaking. His face is pale. "Dad, are you okay?" Nancy asks. Rochefort does not answer. He is reading Incredible Victory by Walter Lord, a book about the Battle of Midway published this year. On page 127, the author writes, "The decisive intelligence came from Washington's OP-20G, which correctly predicted that Japanese forces would attack in the Aleutian Islands while conducting a diversionary operation at Midway." Rochefort reads the sentence 3 times. It is a complete lie. OP-20G said the main attack would hit Alaska. Station Hypo said Midway. Station Hypo was right. OP-20G was wrong. But now, 23 years later, historians are writing that Washington predicted the battle, that Station Hypo was a supporting element, that OP-20G won Midway. Nancy sits down next to her father. "Dad, what is wrong?" Rochefort wants to tell her. Wants to explain that he was at Pearl Harbor during the war, that he ran a cryptanalysis unit, that he broke Japanese codes, that he predicted Midway, that Washington is lying, that he saved the Pacific Fleet and was punished for it, and now 23 years later, they are erasing him from history completely. He wants to tell her everything, but he cannot. He signed a secrecy agreement in 1946. It binds him until death. He cannot discuss code-breaking operations, cannot reveal methods, cannot contradict official histories. The Navy owns his story, and the Navy chose to give his story to someone else. "I am fine," Rochefort says. He closes the book, sets it on the table, never picks it up again. Nancy looks at her father. She has never understood why he is bitter about his Navy career, why he never talks about the war, why he gets angry when people mention Midway. She will not understand for another 21 years, not until her father is dead and the government finally declassifies enough documents to reveal what he did. "Did you serve at Midway?" Nancy asks carefully. "I was at Pearl Harbor," Rochefort says. That is all he can say, all he is allowed to say. "It was a long time ago." He stands up, walks to the kitchen, pours himself a drink. His hands are still shaking. He is 65 years old. He predicted the most important naval battle of the Pacific War. And he cannot tell his own daughter, cannot defend himself against lies, cannot claim credit for saving thousands of American lives. The secrecy agreement forbids it. The Navy forbids it. Washington forbids it. He drinks and says nothing. July 20th, 1976. Joseph Rochefort dies of a heart attack in Torrance, California. He is 76 years old. He never received the Distinguished Service Medal, never received public recognition for predicting Midway, never got to tell his story. He dies knowing he changed history, but unable to prove it. His obituary in the Los Angeles Times is 4 paragraphs. It mentions his Navy service, mentions he retired as a commander, mentions he worked in naval intelligence, does not mention code breaking, does not mention Station Hypo, does not mention Midway, lists him as a retired naval officer. Nothing more. His former Station Hypo team members read the obituary. They are furious. Holmes calls Williams. Williams calls Finnegan. They decide they have been silent long enough. Rochefort is dead. The secrecy agreements bound him until death. But they are still alive, and they are going to tell the truth. They start writing letters to congressmen, to admirals, to the Naval Historical Center. They explain what Station Hypo did, what Rochefort did, how the intelligence that won Midway came from Hawaii, not Washington, how Captain Redmond blocked Rochefort's medal out of spite, how the Navy punished the man who saved the Pacific Fleet. In 1977, the Naval Security Group Association publishes their account. Former Station Hypo analysts describe in detail how they broke JN-25, how they predicted Midway, how Rochefort led the effort, how Washington tried to steal credit. The article is devastating. It proves the official history is a lie. Historians start asking questions. They request declassified documents. Compare Station Hypo's intelligence reports with OP-20G's reports. The evidence is overwhelming. Station Hypo was right about everything. OP-20G was wrong about everything. Rochefort predicted Midway accurately. Captain Redman blocked his medal for political reasons. The Navy erased Rochefort from history to protect Washington's reputation. In 1985, Congress reviews the case. They discover that Rochefort was recommended for the Distinguished Service Medal in 1942. That the recommendation came from Admiral Nimitz personally, that Captain Redmond blocked it, that Admiral King denied it to protect OP-20G's reputation. Congress is outraged. A naval officer who helped win the most important battle of the Pacific War was denied recognition because he embarrassed the wrong people, and then died 34 years later, never knowing the Navy would eventually admit the truth. On June 5, 1986, exactly 44 years after the Battle of Midway, President Ronald Reagan posthumously awards Joseph Rochefort the Distinguished Service Medal. The ceremony is held at the Pentagon. Rochefort's daughter Nancy accepts the medal. She is 58 years old. For 58 years she did not know what her father did during the war, did not understand why he was bitter, why he never talked about Midway, why he got angry when people discussed the battle. Now she knows. Her father predicted the Battle of Midway, broke the Japanese code, saved the Pacific Fleet, and was punished for it by the Navy he served. Admiral William Crowe, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, speaks at the ceremony. Commander Rochefort's intelligence made victory at Midway possible. He identified the target. He predicted the timing. He gave Admiral Nimitz the intelligence needed to position 3 carriers in perfect ambush position. And the Japanese sailed straight into it. 4 carriers sunk. Over 2,000 enemy sailors killed. The turning point of the Pacific War. All because of Commander Rochefort and Station Hypo. He was denied recognition for 44 years because he was better at his job than the men in Washington wanted to admit. Today, we correct that injustice. Too late for Commander Rochefort to receive it, but not too late for history to record the truth. The former Station Hypo analysts attend the ceremony. Holmes is 90 years old. Williams is 68. Finnegan is 72. The men who spent 6 days in June 1942 breaking an impossible code. They stand together watching Nancy Rochefort accept her father's medal. They are crying, all of them. After the ceremony, they gather in a corner, talk quietly, about Rochefort, about Station Hypo, about things they could not discuss for 40 years. He deserved this when he was alive, Holmes says. His voice shakes. He deserved to hear a president say he won Midway. He died thinking the Navy forgot him. He knew what he did, Williams says. He knew he predicted the battle, knew he saved the fleet. Knowing is not enough, Finnegan says quietly. He spent 30 years watching Washington take credit for his work, watching historians write lies, reading books that erased him from history. And he could not say anything, could not defend himself. The secrecy agreement silenced him. Joe died silent. That is not justice. That is torture. They are right. Rochefort spent 3 decades in silence, bound by oaths, unable to defend his reputation, unable to correct lies. He watched OP-20G take credit for intelligence station Hypo provided, watched other officers get promoted for victories his work enabled, watched historians write him out of the story, and he could not speak, could not reveal what he knew, could not break his oath. That is the price of breaking codes. The men who read enemy secrets cannot talk about it, cannot celebrate victories, cannot claim credit. They work in silence, win in silence, sometimes die in silence. And if they are very lucky, decades after they are gone, the truth comes out. Their families learn what they did. Historians correct the record. The government admits they existed. Joseph Rochefort never saw his vindication, never held the medal he earned, never heard a president say his intelligence won Midway. He died in obscurity, died knowing the truth, but unable to speak it. And that is the real price of being too good at reading enemy secrets. The enemy never knows you beat them, and sometimes your own side never acknowledges it either. Not until you are dead and it no longer matters to you. Today, the lesson remains. The most important victories are often won by people whose names you will never know, who cannot tell you what they did, who work in basements and secure facilities, breaking codes and tracking enemies and predicting operations, who save thousands of lives without firing a shot, who change history without ever appearing in history books. They work in silence, win in silence, sometimes die in silence, and we owe them more than we can ever repay, because they gave everything, including the right to be remembered.